Good afternoon and welcome to our Thursday afternoon wrap-up session. We'll go through the markets here. We'll go through our trades for the day. It is Thursday, October 26, 2023. Let's dive into it. And we'll jump into what we're looking at right now, which is SPY. So another down day on SPY. This makes essentially what I think the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the last 7 days being down. So quite a down trend for the last 2 weeks here, as SPY has tumbled from really up around 437 all the way down to about 412. So pretty good hit, 20 some points on SPY, and 20 points on a 430 point stock is about 5%. So we're down about 5% in the markets in 2 weeks. And obviously we're down not quite 10% now since the end of July. So let's take a look at what we're seeing. MACD continues to just fall lower. So this is obviously pretty negative. RSI continues to fall lower on the weekly, broke the 50, just heading lower. I'm going to change the color on this, make it a little bit easier to pick out, but we're just heading lower on the weekly. We are down to this bottom downtrend channel. The previous resistance, which turned into support here, really was never support. We broke through that. We broke through the bottom of the trend channel today. So if we look over here on the daily, MACD has been falling now for a couple of weeks. RSI has been falling, but one thing at least about RSI is maybe finally getting to a little bit of an oversold territory on the daily. Now, we still could go much farther into oversold territory, and we could stay there for a period of time. We are not seeing anything that would indicate that this market is done going down yet. If you look at the 21 here in green versus the 50 EMA in pink above that, or purple, it's widening. So the drop is increasing in speed, as you can see by this MACD, as it just keeps getting larger and larger, significantly larger bars as we go. So you're seeing the bigger separation between the MACD and the average there, remaining in a bullish trend. Now, this red bars here, that is the 2 standard deviation, and then the white on the outside here is a 3 standard deviation. You have broken through now significantly, broke down through the 2 standard deviation line, as well as the bottom of this channel that we've been in for quite a while, dating all the way back to July of this year. So this channel's held up pretty well, tops, bottoms. You're going to break up and down a little bit, and this channel doesn't mean that we can't reverse up, but you are getting extended beyond the 2 ATR, close to the 3. Now, there's been a couple times where we've ridden this down and we broke the 3 and we stayed there, but we consolidated and moved a little bit more sideways there, and we saw at least the main selling start to slow down. We'll see what happens. I guess that's a positive on SPY, but you remain below all the moving averages on the daily here, and not looking too good. On the Qs, we talked about this yesterday, that the Qs, I think you look even worse. I think we posted some stuff this morning on it. MACD, RSI falling heavily here on the weekly, and if we look at the dailies as well, you are getting closer to oversold, but not quite there yet. Significant breakdown today through the bottom of this, descending, channel slash a little bit of a wedge. It's more of a channel, but it is tightening up a bit. All the way down, hit the 50 exponential moving average, breaking through the Bollinger Bands here on the weekly. And then on the daily, smashing through today the 2 ATR all the way down to the 3 ATR, and finished just off of that. We are just ahead of the 200-day moving average, right around 338. And then there's a previous pivot level here that could provide potentially some support in this area. We're not there yet. We'll see if we get any kind of a slowdown in the next, this area stretching anywhere from about 341 to about 334. So it's still another 9 points away, which is about another little over 2%. Potentially, before you have some areas where we might find support. We could continue to fall. If you look over here on the weekly, this entire area in here is really thin structure. Let's actually look here. I mean, these are just big daily gaps or big daily moves here, and there's not a lot of sideways volume where we're starting to build any kind of area. So the structure overall, very thin on this move up, and there's not a whole lot to stop you until you really get to this 335 area. You start to get to this 335 support level here. Now we start to get into some potential areas. If we pull up the charts here and we look at, let's go to here. On the Qs, as we're moving through here, this is only the 30-minute going back 10. Let's take a look at a daily, for the last 3 months or so. You've got this area here, which is a pretty good node, but if you break through this, again, we don't have a lot of area beneath this volume area. So you're in this volume area here. This is pretty thin to here, and then you start to get some additional volume beat in. So if we continue to move down, there's not a lot in here to stop us from heading down further south on this. That's just the daily, looking at like a 6-month chart. The 3-month, if we break through that again, it's very, very evident that if we hit here, anything below this is pretty scary looking territory. So we'll see what happens on it. But I think that's something to at least keep an eye on here, that you don't have a lot of structure below potentially on this area. So if we do break here, there's not a lot here until you start to get down into these areas down in here about 307 or so, where we have now some volume from some ups and downs. All right, looking at IWM as well, definitely hanging in there today. Weekly, terrible looking. Daily, not too healthy looking, but we're right at the bottom of this channel, past the 2 ATR, not quite to the 3, but this is the bottom of the channel and a support level here that we have used multiple times in the past. I'm not saying IWM bounces here, but if it doesn't bounce here and it breaks this, it's got significant problems to the downside. Number of stocks above their 50-day moving average on the S&P didn't really change at all. Has not changed for 4 straight sessions. Still hanging about 15%. If we look at the put call ratio, you can see today, it just kind of hung in there with yesterday, down just fractionally. If we get to charts here and we take a look at the 10-day moving average on this, it's just been traveling right around this overbought line, but it hasn't started to make any kind of a move down. So as this thing stays higher here around this line, the market continues to sell off, as we're actually been moving up a fraction here. So overall, if we look at this thing, look at the trend line on this, and we can draw this trend line from here to here. Well, look exactly what the market did during that exact same time frame here. So the market itself in this same time frame has headed lower. So as you're trending higher on the put call ratio here on the 10-day moving average, the markets are going to keep drifting lower as you rise up here. So if we keep moving higher, we'll see what happens. If we start to break this and start to head down, that's what we want to see, is this trend that really hasn't gotten going yet. It's this trend from this high to here. We need to see this thing start to kick in and move lower. But right now, we're not to an extreme put buying area yet. In fact, we are at a pretty extreme call area here, which really set us, back a little bit. So this has to start to drop and follow this line down. If it starts to follow this line down, then I think you can see us moving up. So you can see from here to here on this down move, okay, which took a while to resolve. That was a pretty nice uptrend until this starts to really trend downwards here. The markets are going to continue to fall. So that's something to keep an eye on. Just another indicator that you can take a look at. VIX up fractionally on the day, actually closed well off its highs at 2068. It was up as high as 2174. So it was almost at 22, finished at 20. So volatility coming out later in the session. Looking at the US dollar today, just keeping itself moving, fractionally higher. It was pretty much unchanged on the session. It was up a little, finished off of its highs. MACD's trying to get going again on the daily, but RSI is falling. So RSI has been falling here. We are not hitting new highs, but we are moving up. And as we've been moving up, the overall RSI is not as high as it was. So you do have some divergence in the US dollar that if we continue to move up here, if we don't see RSI starting to hit new highs, when we get back to this trend line, if it starts to roll over, we'll see this divergence starting to kick in and maybe sends the dollar lower. TLT up a fraction today, up 1.5%. So everybody will pile back into it, bouncing nicely off this trend line of this descending wedge that we have here. Again, we're starting to see RSI moving higher as this is starting to try to get going higher. So the daily, not looking too bad. The weekly, still in a downtrend, oversold, trying to stop, maybe another week. If next week we start to get another higher bar on MACD on the weekly, I'll start to suggest that maybe it's time to start to nibble at getting long on TLT in here. We do have the Fed coming up. It's going to be interesting what they do next week. That may have a lot of impact on not only rates, but what happens in TLT. If they signal any kind of a pause, maybe we continue to get that rebound. If they hike, which is not, a high percentage that would happen, then this absolutely could get smoked. So I think you got to wait out the Fed here a little bit just to see what they do and what they say. And then we'll have a better idea of what the market is going to do. All right, so there's a couple things to take a look at. We'll keep an eye on what's happening with the Fed next week. And TNX not hitting new highs here. RSI continuing to fall. We're just not hitting new highs on the Treasury rates right now. We're just struggling with sideways consolidation. I think that bodes well, again, for TLT, which is also sideways consolidating. So if the rates don't see a big run into next week, maybe we start to teeter off here, and that's going to be good for bonds as a whole. All right, 6A on the session today. Taking a quick look, had a little bit of an extended down day, bounced off of the bottom of the Bollinger Band here on the session, still in a downtrend. 6B, which is your British pound, a little bit of a bounce today. We'll see if we get any kind of follow through. 6C, just continuing to sell off. So the Canadian dollar futures getting whacked, heading towards newer lows, down into some previous support areas here. We could probably draw these in along this line, and this is where we've bounced previously on this. So it's something to keep an eye on in here. So we'll let's drop that line. It's giving us a little bit of a pain trying to just get that thing drawn, but there you go. So that particular line, we'll watch and see if this holds at all, or do we just smash through it and keep going. 6E, I still like the way the euro looks. Now, MACD rolling over, RSI is falling back through the 50, and the RSI on the daily or on the weekly is heading lower. Even though we broke sideways out of this trend, we weren't able to sustain really anything, but we have not entered back into the channel. So this downtrend top of the channel line did hold today, and we bounced off of it. See if we can get anything going, but we did trigger a bearish PSAR reversal signal today. This is not a good sign, not a good look for this. Even though we're breaking out sideways, trying to base in here, still some downside. We'll see what happens with that. All right, bonds, we've already covered this with TLT. We've got this descending wedge. We've been tightening up in here. RSI is trying to move higher. MACD's trying to move higher. So bonds are trying to come off the mat here on the bond futures. like I said, one bar higher doesn't make a trend. I'd like to see a second bar and RSI breaking above oversold levels. I think that'd be a good positive for bonds. However, nice update on bonds. We have a few naked puts in it. I'm not buying anything. I am okay selling some premium here. Premium is extremely high on bonds. It is at a pretty high IVR, so I like selling when premium is high. Even if we're in a bit of a downtrend, I like selling based upon the volatility. All right, oil. Posted some stuff on oil as well. You're breaking through this uptrending channel on the weekly, but MACD and RSI have just been tailing lower on the weekly, so not good on oil. And then if we jump into the daily, I mean, we have just had a rough down couple sessions on this, and it continues to fall here. RSI is falling, MACD is falling, breaking the support line on oil. So with all the stuff going on in the Middle East, still not seeing oil really rallying or being up there to a great degree. Now, oil volatility continues to be elevated. So oil volatility is elevated. It's off of its highs, but it's pretty close to it. So you're seeing pretty good volatility on oil as oil is starting to pull back here. Gold, pretty resilient here. We did break out of the weekly channel 2 weeks ago. Nothing new for anybody here. MACD, RSI has been heading higher on the weekly, but on the daily, we've been rolling over for 4 sessions on MACD, while RSI continues to just teeter on the edge of the overbought level. Not making a big down run. It looked like we may have started to get that going, and then it flattened back out again. Gold just hanging in here resilient. And if we look at gold volatility, I mean, it had a couple big down sessions. It's been slowly creeping back, but no major change. But as I said, when volatility gets out of control and we pass the 2 ATR all the way to the 3 ATR, reversion back to the mean, reversion back to about the 21 moving average, and that's exactly what volatility has done here on gold. So volatility has been reverting, and that's also been helping our trades. We do have some strangles that we put on when volatility really spiked. We've got a couple other strangles that are either flat or a small loss. We would want to see this thing continue to weaken a bit here, maybe come back, test the bottom of this area in here around 1940 and change, which is where the 200 lies. That's where this downtrend channel lies. It's where the 50 EMA lies. It's where the 21 EMA lies. Everything is at 1942 and change or so, and you are still extended beyond the 3 ATR. And this is like, again, going out in a space capsule without a suit on. Your oxygen, without an oxygen tank, your oxygen is only going to last so long. You can only stay in this environment for so long before you have to come back in and get air. So I would expect gold to drop at some point here, but it's held up well. And then copper continues to move sideways on the daily. MACD has been trying to recover. RSI has been trying to recover. The weekly obviously has been trending down. We've been in this descending wedge here with support right around the 35 476 level. So that 35.55-ish, whatever. Somewhere in that level here is where we've had good support. We've bounced off it a number of times. See what happens. Copper's hanging in there. We do have a 112 trade on. So if we do break below this, we're good because our put debit spread will be in good shape. As long as we move sideways to up, the naked puts are coming off. So that's perfect. It's exactly what you want to see. Taking a look at the sectors for today. So we did have some positive sectors led by a big, almost 3% move in regional banks today. That's a pretty significant move if you look at this previous wedge that we were in. Back up to the top of that wedge. We've broken out of it, so it may not be quite as valid anymore, but you're back to the top of this channel on KRE. We may need to just redraw this as just a pretty good downtrend channel here. So we have a little bit of ways to go, but nice 3% update there. Real estate just bouncing off these lows, getting to the 2 ATR, getting a bounce here. RSI also picking up. Okay, biotech same type of a scenario here. So biotech moving higher on the session, just fractionally, but having a nice up day as well. Utilities, a nice continuation of this up day. I don't know where this is headed to, which sounds weird. I'm just giving you directions that it is in right now. Obviously, a solid downtrend, but on the daily, been recovering pretty nicely. And now you're starting to really start to see some type of an uptrend happening here, and maybe a bit of an ascending triangle in here that we may have peaked through today and didn't make it. So we'll keep an eye on how this pattern starts to look. You could actually, let's take this off, and we're going to go out to the weekly here, and I'm going to draw a trend line from this previous bad week way back over here. And if we take a look and draw this line over, okay, it's exactly where we hit today. Pretty interesting to see that. So we came close to it here, fell down, bounced up to here. So we're going to be tapping on this previous pivot level now on XOU. So utilities, interesting here. And then XLB, your materials here, XRT, your retail, bouncing a bit on the session. And then you get into the negatives. XLF, just looking not too good. Downtrending, MACD, RSI falling on the weekly. Nothing healthy there. Let's jump all the way to the worst sectors of the day. XLC, your communications heading lower. Meta and Google having terrible days, and they make up the majority of that index. XOKs, your tech stocks, that's looking terrible. That's heading lower. I mean, you had bad days, and Microsoft down almost 4%. Apple down almost 2.5%. So tech's just getting taken out and destroyed here. But starting to get closer to an oversold level, and we're at the bottom of this trend, and we're hitting the 2 ATR. Not saying that any bounce here is more than just a new lower high, but I would think a bounce is probably something that's coming sooner than later. It's just a matter of, is it really a trend change or just a bounce within the downtrend? I'm probably going to consider it a bounce within the downtrend at this point. Semiconductors back to these lows, just riding this trend line, this descending wedge down lower, past the 2 ATR, close to the 3 ATR. Let's see what starts to happen on this one. Do we get any kind of a bounce on semiconductors here? And then your XLY, which is your Amazon and your Tesla, just having a terrible day. Amazon down 1.5% and Tesla down 3%. So tech stocks, the Magnificent Seven, all having a terrible day today. All down, all red, as you can see down here. And let's just jump into these, starting with Amazon. Now, Amazon did report after hours. It was down the least of most of these, only down 1.5%, hitting the 2 ATR here. Even though MACD and RSI are falling daily and weekly, it did beat earnings decently, and revenue, I think 13% increase, something like that, after the bell. And as you can see here, we're up, what about 3 points, maybe 2 points? I think probably 2 points. So not a big increase, and only up 2 points. We've seen that evaporate overnight. Apple getting that towards the bottom of this space as well, breaking the 2 ATR, finishing off its lows, hitting the 3 ATR and bouncing, heading into oversold levels here on the daily. So we're starting to get overdone on this move. Doesn't mean it can't continue, but I would be looking for some sort of a rally up. Will it be a rally to the top of this either channel or descending wedge on any of these? Microsoft, however, did break to the upside, and it has been looking the best. Now, it had a pretty significant down day today, but along with the rest of the market. But really, MACD and RSI, they are falling, but you are outside of its downtrend channel, and you're right at the 50 and 21 EMAs. So not horrible here. Still has the opportunity to kind of just consolidate in here and maybe start a new trend higher. You do have a higher high here. I'm going to take this off here. So this downtrend, you are starting to see that we do have a higher high in this area, which could be the start of an uptrend. We'll see what happens, but right now you've got a higher high. So let's see if we get any kind of a higher low. So if we can hang above 310 on Microsoft and start moving higher again, then maybe we have the start of something on Microsoft. Would you trade anything here on Microsoft? I would not. Let's see what happens. In order to, take full advantage of this, would you want to short something that's starting to make a higher high and is at some trend lines and key moving averages? I'm not shorting it here. Okay, the time to short it was on this jump here. I'm not going to short it down here and a bullish PSR reversal signal. No reason to short here, but no reason to get long. How would I get long? If at some point we start to turn and make that turn back up, then you can look to get long. Do we make a higher low? And at that point, I think that's when you jump in. MACD and RSI are moving higher on the weekly, which means all we're waiting for is the daily to join suit. If the daily starts to turn and move higher and MACD and RSI start to reverse, I think that's when to get in. That time is not now. All right, so let's keep going. We'll cover a few more. Meta down 11 points today, almost 4%, breaking this uptrend line here. So that's toast. Now, does it become a resistance level? MACD, RSI is falling both weekly and daily. So Meta, while it hung in here so well until earnings, and then earnings just smoked it down here. I think it's overdone. You're at the 3 ATR, but you're not really getting any kind of a confirmation bounce signal. I think if we go any further or we hit this 3 ATR, I mean, this is a pretty good reversal candle here today. So I think you have to take a look at that. We finished well off the lows. And we'll see what happens. But you've got really a hanging man at the bottom here, or a hammer, whatever you want to call it. It's a good reversal potential signal here, and you're overextended at the 3 ATR and 2 ATR. A bounce could be forthcoming. I'd want to see a little more pain and then get in on a bigger bounce. Google just getting whacked in here. This ascending wedge, we broke it to the downside, gap down again today, oversold. Google not looking too good overall, and Nvidia's got earnings coming up, and this thing continues to just hang in there. Let's extend this line out. All right, so we held this support level that we've had. So we've bounced on this thing 1, 2, 3, 4 times now. Is 4 times the charm? Do we finally break below it? I think what would concern me the most is left shoulder, head, right shoulder. You break this neckline, okay, and I think we are going to get that potential gap fill. Earnings are going to have to be spectacular, and earnings coming up on NVIDIA are on the 21st. So we have a whole month before we get to earnings. Well, it's very possible we break this neckline and we can come back down in here and maybe finally start to fill this gap up or something here before earnings, and then maybe we take back off, or maybe we just continue to hang in this channel and move up and down. We'll see what happens. Tesla down 3% today, breaking support on the daily, oversold and staying there, heading down on the weekly. Not a good looking chart. I think we start to watch the 200 level here. Do we get some sort of a reversal on the daily? You are outside the 3 ATR for the 3rd time in 5 sessions, and you've been below the 2 ATR for the last 6 straight sessions after this gap down after earnings. I think it's overdone. You're definitely oversold here. The question is, do you just get a little bit of a bounce back up here, and then we continue to roll over, and we just follow this downtrending line, and we just keep making lower highs and lower lows? But I would think, again, a bounce would not be out of the question being overextended here, even though there's some bad looking technicals on this. All right, let's jump into the account quickly, and let's see what we've got to look at. On the session today, on the main account here, Delta popped up to 812.27. That Delta is a little high for me. So as the markets are selling off, another 1.1% down today, 5% in a short period of time on SPX. Hey, if we're going to be down 5-10% off of our highs, deltas are obviously going to keep moving up the farther we move down. It's changing the deltas that we have. I'm going to start to have to do something to keep those deltas in a little bit more check if the market doesn't correct itself here, where we get some sort of a bounce or a relief. Theta remains high. Again, we are over leveraged right now. We are over theta right now. Theta up to 0.67. I mean, it's a massive amount of theta. It's too much. We're taking on too much risk in the portfolio. I totally understand that. I am very cognizant of it. I am watching what we're doing in this account. I don't want to be as high as I am, but I feel pretty confident that we can manage through it. But the nice thing here is another new high recently on net lick, and we're only, again, $2,000 away from another all-time high. So it's another new high in the last couple of days, and we are only $2,000 on a $305,000 account. We're only $2,000 away, so not even 1% away from another new all-time high in this account. So what we're doing is working. BP popped up today, not because we put anything on, which we didn't. We actually took some stuff off. But BP popped up again on that volatility, span margin increasing here. And we also closed a couple put debit spread and rolled some put debit spread and made them smaller. And by doing that, we've taken some delta away from what we're doing. And I think that's increasing our buying power as well. Because now we don't have quite the downside protection that we had because we're taking profits on the downside move. However, we did manage to put in another $893 in realized gains today. So again, I'm worried more about realized than I am the net lick. Look at the net lick. It's taking care of itself. If you keep making money every day or every couple of days or every week, if I keep making money, net lick has to go up. Okay. If I start to lose money, then I would expect net lick to drop. This net lick is down simply because the value of the naked puts is not where it was previously, and we're not getting that decay with the increased vol. So because we're dropping, the price of the naked puts is moving up, and that's hurting our net lick. This thing is going to absolutely rocket if we get an up week. So if we can get 4 or 5 days in a row or a week where we move higher, and volatility calms down a bit, okay, you're going to see the net lick skyrocket on this particular account. But we hit the $12,000 mark today, so we've made over $12,664 on the month. We are up 4.28% on the month. And then let's make our adjustment here on the net lick as well. Net lick's up 8,857, so net lick's up 3% on the month. Our goal is 3% in realized. We're at 4.28. We still have some time to go. We can still take a loss or two, and we did take a loss on a trade today, but we took wins on 3 others. And let's take a look at what those were. And what happened today? Well, the first one was we had an AMD, and I hate stocks. I hate stocks with a passion, and yet I keep going back to play some of these because I see a good setup. And, stocks just disappoint me all the time. If you want to be disappointed, trade stocks. Okay? If you want to be happy and make money, trade indexes, indices, and futures. Stocks suck, okay? And it kills us every single time. If I look at my my spec trades on stocks, it's just not great. But if I look at everything else in futures and what have you, because what happens here is a stock is affected by other stocks and other things in the market, where as a futures or an index, okay, just because a couple stocks go down, the index doesn't get killed. Look today, Apple and Microsoft down almost 3% each. Meta down almost 4%. But SPX was only down 1.18%. Okay. indexes aren't as volatile as stocks. AMD today was down 2.5% on the session. It didn't do anything. It just dropped 2.5% because other stocks dropped 2.5%. Nvidia went down. Semiconductors as a whole went down, but the market does not fluctuate. So I take my own advice and stick with the market. Anyway, we adhere to our principles. We put on a put spread in AMD. We had good technical setup. It broke out of the descending wedge to the upside. We had a nice gain going in this until the last couple sessions, and that's where things reversed on us. We had a great breakout back on October 6th, ran to a nice high on the 12th, and then just a slow decline after that until you're back inside the descending wedge, which is where we are. So AMD just gave it all back. And we closed it today as per our 2x loss. We took a $8,000 loss on that today, which is only, again, a small percentage. This is only 0.3% of our account, not even a 2% loss of our account, a 0.3% loss. So I size these appropriately. If we take a loss, we lose. Okay, we did manage to put on 2 nice 0 DTE trades today. We opened up with a put credit spread and took a 50% winner out of that for $300. And then on the move up early, we also put on a call credit spread for 60 cents, took it off at 30 for a 50% winner for another $300. So we pulled in $600 on 0 DTE today, well offsetting that loss. And then we have the FB112 trade. So what is the FB112 trade that you have? This one is what we call the Fat Bastard 112. If you're offended, sorry, but that's what I call it. So the FB112 is the Fat Bastard 112. I have multiple 112 trades. The goal of this was big fat trap, spending little credit to get it. Big fat trap, and we hit that trap. And what I did was I rolled part of that put debit spread to trap some of that profit. So I took out $1,300 in profit on this move by rolling part of the put debit spread. And I still have a PDS remaining that's pretty sizable. I believe it's still 70 points wide on this. So I think we only rolled it up like 55 points out of the 125 point wide that we had. So we rolled the PDS up here and locked in $1,300 on a trade that I was paid a small credit to even put on. So the overall return is in the thousands. I'm not going to post it that way, but when you put a trade on for just a couple cents, okay, and you are able to take $26 in credit out of it, and the trade is not done. I've only adjusted the put debit spread to lock in some profit. I still have a giant amount of trap space to go. The remaining trap, I believe, is worth at least 20, or worth even more. I can't even remember what it's worth still. I think it was worth maybe close to 50 points, which is 2,500 more. So we still have 2,500 more in profit sitting there that could potentially go as high as 3,500. So we could get another $1,000 out of it. So anyway, that's the maneuvers that we did today on that particular account. And in the small account today, we gave up a couple bucks just off of yesterday's brand new all-time high. We didn't close anything. We did add a new long-term 112 in the small account, and then in the IRA here today as well, another new all-time high. So we managed to hit another new all-time high, breaking from the 24th on Tuesday. So a new all-time high in the IRA account. Now the IRA account is also getting very heavy on the BP piece. We're going to have to take some trades off, which means we're going to probably close some naked puts, which are all in a nice profit area. So we're going to generate some more cash probably tomorrow, bring that BP back in line. If not, we might buy some out of the money puts on ES, which will free it up, which is something we did today on this main account. We actually spent about $140 to free up about $7,000 in buying power, which gave us the room to make some other moves. and keep us in a reasonable area that we can work on the main account here. So even though BP went up, so had I not done that, we would be in a little bit more trouble. We've got to make some adjustments here soon. If the market doesn't bounce in the next couple of days, then we'll probably close some more trades and take some naked puts off for some winners. All right, there's where we are. If you liked it, again, click the subscribe button and subscribe to this channel if you're not already on there. Click the like button if you like what we're covering here, and then come and join us in the Discord. See what we're doing over here in the Discord. See what we're covering on here. So we've got trades working. We've got the alerts working. We've got members trading. We've got trades from myself, from Igor, from Gabe. So there's a ton of trades, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of members really sharing some fantastic stuff. We cover a lot of futures. We also covered fixed income trades. So we got Ed in there, really as our fixed income expert here. We're covering a lot of different back tests. We're constantly experimenting on some different things that we do. So come and join us over here in the Discord, find out what we're doing, and see how that can help your trading get to the next level. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you next time, and stay safe out there, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.